So the first example is nothing but stack operations. So here what we are going to do, we need to identify operations. So here the underlying operations are three. The first operation is push operation. The second operation is pop operation. And the third operation is nothing but multi-pop operation, right? And the underlying data structure which we are going to consider is stack. And now what we are interested in, we are interested in analysis of a sequence of length n where this three operation will come: push, pop and multi-pop. And we are interested in identifying what will happen in the worst case. So what our traditional analysis says, the traditional analysis says out of these three operations, push, pop and multi-pop, the costlier one is multi-pop, because multi-pop is nothing but we are popping multiple elements, and it may possible in the worst case we are popping out all the n elements. So that means that is the maximum size of the stack. So therefore it may possible that in the worst case you are popping all the elements of the stack. So it may possible that you if you traditionally analyze this, then you will consider this particular sequence as nothing but multi-pop n times, and each multi-pop will take order of n times. So therefore total amount of time required by this particular worst case sequence is nothing but order of n square. So this is correct, but this is not tight. Not tight means we can do better than this. And which information is missing here? The what is the flow in this argument? The first flow is we have assumed that we can apply multi-pop operation n times, right? This is not true. This will become clear when we actually understand the dependencies of push and pop, as well as dependencies of push on pop as well as multi-pop. So let's say initially my stack is empty, and now I am inserting 5 elements in it. Okay, so let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now the question is, how many elements, how many times you can apply pop on this? Can you answer this? Let's say number of elements in the stack are 5. How many times you can apply? So that means you have applied push operation 5 times. What can you say about number of pop operation? How many pop operations you can apply? At most
5.
5,
5.
right? At most 5 only, right? So pop must be less than or equal to 5. Okay. What can I say about multi-pop? How many times? Okay, so what multi-pop does? Let's see it formally. So your stack is this. Stack is nothing but s, and one parameter is given which is nothing but k, and minimum of s comma k. So why minimum of s comma k? So it may possible that let's say you are telling to pop 10 elements, but your stack contains only 5 elements. Then this function will return minimum of 5 comma 10, which is nothing but 5, because it can only remove 5 elements. Even if you call for 10, because in the stack only 5 elements are there, then it will be able to pop only 5 elements. So therefore it will consider minimum of s comma k, and if stack is not empty, then it will pop the underlying element and reduce the value of k by 1. Right? So that's the idea of this multi-pop operation. So again, so that means complexity of this is nothing but minimum of s comma k. And with respect to this example, can you tell me how many elements can this particular multi-pop operation remove? My initially stack contains 5 elements. Okay, stack contains 5 elements, and now so that means I have applied push operation 5 times. Push is done for 5 times. Now we have also analyzed pop. Pop can be we can call pop at most 5 times. What can we say about multi-pop? How many elements multi-pop can remove from this particular stack? Can it remove 10 elements?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So at most again it can remove 5 elements. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So in terms of number of elements, can I say that number of times I am applying push operation, this is equal to number of times I am applying pop operation or multi-pop operation. With respect to number of elements, can I say this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And this is the
Yes, sir.
worst case. Let's
Yes.
say I am pushing for 10 elements and there is no restriction that you must remove 10 elements. So can I write like this? Greater than or equal to? Right?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes.
So let's say I am pushing 10 elements. So you can remove at most 10 elements. And you are free to use either pop or multi-pop. So now do you understand? Once you understand this relation, you will be able to identify that this sequence is not valid, where you are considering multi-pop n times, and every time you are assuming that n elements are you are removing. Right? And even if you assume that you are removing n elements every time, it's not practical, because let's say the stack size is 100 and you have applied multi-pop and you have removed all the 100 elements. So next time you call multi-pop, you won't be able to remove anything because now your stack is empty. Do you understand? So this worst case sequence, identification of worst case sequence will be different with the knowledge of this dependency. Okay, so let's consider it, right? So now, if I talk concretely, and instead of assuming 5, let's say I am number of times I am pushing elements is nothing but n. In other words, in stack I am inserting n different elements. Then what can I say about complexity of pop as well as multi-pop? That is the question. So n times I am pushing elements. So pushing one element will take order of 1 time. So pushing n elements will take order of n time. Do you agree with this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right? So with respect to push operation, we are clear that it will take order of n time. That is for sure. But we know that each element can be popped only once. Whether you are using simple pop operation or multi-pop operation, it doesn't make any difference, because each element, once you this element is there, let's say 10, you can remove it exactly once, right? Either you can use pop or multi-pop, and both will take same amount of effort, right? Because we have seen complexity of pop is 1, and if you are removing k elements, and I am assuming that minimum of s comma k is k, then complexity of multi-pop is order of k, right? So if you are removing k elements, then order of k amount of effort is required, right? So therefore, what can I say here? I am saying here that with respect to n push operation, order of n amount of work is required, and now you have n elements and each element can be removed exactly once. Either you can use pop or multi-pop, both will take same amount of effort, which is nothing but order of 1. So that means if you have n elements in your stack, each element can be removed exactly once. Each will take same amount of, each operation will take same amount of effort, which is nothing but order of 1. So that means your pop plus multi-pop will take at most order of n time. So in summary, my complexity is order of n plus n. This n is corresponding to push operation, and this second n is corresponding to pop or multi-pop. Do you agree? So irrespective of which sequence I'm considering of this n operation, this relation will be true, right? So pops is at most push, which is nothing but at most n. So therefore, and this pop is nothing but simple pop as well as multi-pop. So I can say the total complexity of this n operations is order of 2n, which is nothing but order of n. And now amortized analysis is nothing but we are interested in finding out average cost with respect to this worst case sequence operations. So which will be nothing but order of n. This is nothing but total cost with respect to this n operations, and then we are dividing it by total number of operations, which are nothing but n. So amortized cost is nothing but order of 1, and this is non-trivial, right? If we directly see this, then we may feel that it's incorrect, but actually it's correct, because we have we have done now we have analyzed it properly with the knowledge of this dependencies, amongst these operations, right? So what we are saying, if you perform n operations of push, pop, and multi-pop on stack of size n, then the complexity of each operation on an average is order of 1. In constant time, you are doing any operation, right? And this doesn't make sense traditionally, because in traditional analysis what we can do, out of these three operations we can pick, we could pick the expensive operation, which is nothing but multi-pop, and then we can argue that multi-pop, we can it may possible that sequence contains n calls of multi-pop, and one call of multi-pop will may take in the worst case order of n time, and therefore the overall complexity is order of n square, and average complexity will be order of n, right? But this is not the case. Okay, so I hope you understand this aggregate analysis. So now we'll consider one more problem, and we'll try to apply the same idea of aggregate analysis here also. So now the problem is different. The problem is of binary counter, and what we are interested in, we are interested in incrementing the value of this binary counter. So all of us know what is this counter. So counter will look like this. Let's say this is a of 0, this is a of 1, this is a of 2, like this. So initially all the values are 0, and you are setting I to be 0. If I is less than k, k is nothing but limit of this counter, let's say whatever, it can be 8, 16, whatever. So if I is less than k, and if a of I is 1, then we are going to flip it, and then we'll check the next bit, and otherwise we'll just set it. So initially I is equal to 0, 0 is less than k, the very first a of 0 is 0, because I'm starting with 0, 0, right? So we won't go inside this while loop, and then we'll go to this particular statement, I is less than k, yes, 0 is less than k, and we will set the last bit. So after first iteration, my counter will be like this. Okay, now let's go to one more iteration. Now again I am starting with I is equal to 0, because now again I will be calling with this increment a. So this is my value of a, and I'm calling increment a. So I is 0, so I am at this particular bit, and 0 is less than k, and a of I is 1. This is true, both the conditions are true. Last bit is 1. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it. So I will flip it, and I will increment the value of I by 1. So now I will become 1. So now I'm focusing on this bit, and this bit is nothing but 1. 1 is less than k, so I will set it. So this will become 1, 0, and now rest of the bits will remain as it is, and it will continue like this, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, and so on, right? And the next iteration it will be 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, and so on. So now the question is, if we analyze this traditionally, then what will be the complexity of, let's say, n calls of increment? If you want to analyze this, then you need to answer two questions. At most, how many bits you are setting? Setting means converting to 1 in each iteration. At most, how many bits you are resetting? Resetting means you are converting into 0, flipping it to 0. So how many bits we are converting to 1 in every iteration?
1.
1, exactly 1. You can check here, because this will be executed for sure, right? Except for the case where all the bits are 1, then we can't perform this. Otherwise, we are going to set 1 bit for sure. And in the worst case, how many bits we can reset? This is corresponding to reset.
So k minus 1.
So order of k, right? And so that means, can I say order of nk is, if we perform our traditional analysis? Because in the worst case, what will happen? We are resetting, let's say, all the k bits every time, because again we are starting from 0. So 0 to k minus 1 will be nothing but k. So that means I am resetting k minus 1 bits and setting the kth bit that can happen, and in the worst case, I'm assuming that can happen with respect to all the calls of this increment operation. So that means order of nk. Are you with me? If we follow our traditional analysis,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Right? But now we need to explore the dependencies of this set and reset, and then we'll intelligently analyze and refine our analysis with the help of, again, aggregate analysis, and again, which is nothing but technique of amortized analysis. Okay. So this is nothing but our traditional analysis where we are saying that order of k time is required for one call of increment. And since there are n calls, so basically uh, order of nk. So again, this bound is correct, but it's not tight. And the tight bound is order of n for n executions, right? So let's see how to get this. So the observation is critical now. So now we'll consider all these operations together. We'll not see them individually. So with respect to each bit, what is happening, let's understand. The last bit is changing every time. You can see here 0 to 1, 1 to 0, 1 to 0, 0 to 1, 1 to 0. So can I say that A of 0 will flip every time? So let's say I'm calling this increment n times. So therefore it will flip exactly n time, right? Now, if I consider A of 1, then A of 1 is changing every other time. So you can see here, it's 0, 0, then 1, 1. Then again 0, 0, then 1, 1. Then again 0, 0, then 1, 1, and so on. So it will change exactly floor of n by 2 times. Similarly, A of 2, the next bit, right, will flip every fourth time, right? You can see it's 0 here, then it will be converted to 1, then this 1 is converted into 0, then this 0 is will be converted into 1, and so on, right? So in summary, can I say that ith bit will flip exactly n upon 2 raised to I times, right? So basically, what I am saying, the first bit will flip n times, second bit n by 2, third bit n by 4, right? And up to ith bit n upon 2 raised to I. And now this I will done from 0 to k minus 1, right? And now what can I do? I can take n out. So the remaining series is like this: 1 plus 1 upon 2 plus 1 upon 3, sorry, 1 upon 4 plus 1 upon 8 plus 1 upon 2 raised to I. And if I and this is less than, strictly less than, because now I am ignoring this ceiling term. And if I simplify this, then this series is nothing but this is equivalent to 2. So basically, number of flips are exactly 2 times n. And how what was our initial assumption? Each flip will take order of 1 time. So order of 2n time is required to flip 2n bits, right? Because ultimately we are total number of flips are 2n. So therefore, the complexity associated with this flips is nothing but order of 2n, which is nothing but order of n. So that means if you call this increment n times, then total cost is order of n. And if I talk about amortized cost, then amortized cost will be order of n divided by n, because now this is aggregate analysis. So what we are going to do, total cost divided by total number of operations. So total number of operations or calls are n. So each call will take order of 1 time on an average. That is nothing but our refined amortized analysis, right? So amortized cost per operation is nothing but order of 1. So now what we are going to do, we are going to consider the same two examples and we are going to analyze them differently and come up with the same conclusion with respect to amortized cost. So now the second method is nothing but it's called accounting method. And again, we are going to consider the same two examples. The first example is nothing but stack example, and the second example is nothing but corresponding to binary count. Okay. So what is the idea of this accounting method. So in accounting method, we are going to assign cost to operations, and we are going to call this cost amortized cost, right? So amortized cost is different from the actual cost. Okay, and it can be more, it can be less than the actual cost. When amortized cost is greater than actual cost, the difference will be positive, and we will call that positive difference as nothing but credits. And this credits will be saved as will be saved in specific objects. Okay, so we will see this. And if credits, this saved credits can be later used by other operations whose amortized cost is actually less than the actual cost. So that so what is the overall idea of this? We are going to give cost higher than the actual cost to some of the operations, and the remaining amount which is credited will be used for future operations, and that's the overall idea. So this will become more clear when we take examples. Okay, so we'll consider this slide soon. So consider this example first. So we know the actual cost of push is 1, actual cost of pop is 1, and actual cost of multi-pop is nothing but minimum of s comma k. But we are going to assign some different amortized cost to this 3 operation. Instead of 1, we are going to assign cost 2 to push. So what will happen? The remaining 1 unit will be saved, right, with respect to every push operation. So let's say I'm pushing this elements 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the actual cost is 5, but I am spending 10 units here. So 1 will be stored with each of these objects as credit. And this 1 will be used in future whenever we call this pop or multi-pop operation, right? So that means in real pop will take 1 unit of cost. In real multi-pop will take, if we are removing k elements, then k units are required in real. But with this credit system, I don't need to pay at all for pop as well as multi-pop now. Because what will happen? Whenever I want to remove this particular element, let's say 5, whether I'm using pop or multi-pop, this 1 unit will be used in that particular operation. So I don't need to pay anything extra now. Initially, I overpaid this particular push operation, and now it is balanced. So basically, this is nothing but, if you recall, then with respect to aggregate analysis, we have analyzed that number of push, or we can say that cost associated with push is equal to cost associated with total number of pops or multi-pops, right? So we are using that observation only. So with that relation, we are giving double to push operation, and then we don't need to pay anything for pop as well as multi-pop. So this 200 is amortized cost, and this 11 minimum of s comma k, these are nothing but our actual cost. So we can consider this as nothing but plates in cafeteria. Let's say one is corresponding to unit cost, and whenever you are pushing a plate, $1 to pay the actual cost of the push, and $1 you put as a credit, and credit will be used whenever you want to pop the plate, right? And that $1 will take care of the actual cost of the pop or multi-pop, right? So that means by charging push a little more, we don't need to charge anything for pop or multi-pop, right? And if we talk about amortized cost for n push, pop, and multi-pop, then again it will be order of n now, because total cost is 2n, which is nothing but order of n. And if we talk about average cost per operation, then again it will be order of n divided by n, which is nothing but order of 1, right? And now we can talk about some important conditions. So those conditions are listed here. So suppose actual cost is Ci for ith operation in the sequence, and amortized cost is Ci dash, then summation of all the costs, or summation of all the amortized costs starting from 1 to n must be greater than equal to summation of all the actual cost, right? So this is because we want to show the average cost per operation is small using amortized cost. We need the total amortized cost is as an upper bound of the total actual cost. So whatever we are going to spend actually, right? So that is nothing but after an operation, whatever we are going to spend actually, that is nothing but at right hand side. So this is nothing but, let's say, y, and this is nothing but my amortized cost. So definitely amortized cost must be the upper bound on the actual cost, right? So that's the condition. So we must take care of this condition. So we should assign our amortized cost by taking care of this, which satisfy this particular conditions. And total credits, difference credits, right? So this must be non-negative. That non-negative means it can be 0 or greater than 0, right? It cannot be negative. So, for example, after pushing elements, your credit amount must be in positive. Let's say I push element 5, and you are saying that credit is minus 0.5. So this doesn't make any sense, because now in future pop operation will come, and we need to pay $1 for pop operation. And here uh, we are already we need to pay $0.5 to compensate the previous operation. So basically we need to pay $1.5, and we don't have that much, right? So we this kind of inconsistencies will come if this constraint is not satisfied, right? So therefore we must make sure that this difference is always non-negative. Okay. And here we can say that this constraints are satisfied, right? Because we are anyway giving credits which are non-negative, so the total amount of credits cannot become negative at any point of time, right? So now what we are going to do, we are going to apply the same accounting method with respect to our second example, which is nothing but binary counter. So in binary counter, we know that basically flipping of the bits is required, and we are resetting or either setting or resetting the bits. So the actual cost is nothing but $1. But instead of $1, $1 is corresponding to, you can assume that order of one, right? Because one operation is required, one flip operation is required to uh, actually change the bit, we can say, right? So instead of one, we are going to pay $2 to set a bit to one, right? So setting we are paying instead of one, we are paying $2. And in this setting, actually, how much amount of payment is required? Order of one, which is nothing but $1. But instead of that, we will give 0. So these are my amortized cost now. Instead of 1, I am using 2, 0, right? That is the idea of this accounting method. So whenever a bit is set, use $1 to pay the actual cost and store another $1 as a credit. And this credit will be used whenever the bit is reset. Right? So so now we need to also take care of constraints. So at any point of time, number of ones in the counter is number of ones cannot be become negative, and therefore we can say that total credits cannot become negative at any point of time, right? This is required, and at most one bit is set in each operation, this we know. So the amortized cost of an operation is at most 2, right? And this is clear from the increment algorithm. If you recall, then this is our algorithm, and as you can see, if while condition is, let's say, false, then we are going to set the bit. So in each iteration, what will happen? At most one bit can be set, right? And all the bits are set, then even this operation will fail, right? So therefore we are using this particular word, at most one bit we are going to set. And for setting a bit, how much amount of we are paying? We are paying $2. So $2 are corresponding to we are saying that 2 operations, right? Or two out of this 2, one will be stored as credit, and that will be used whenever we are going to reset the particular bit, right? And how many operations are there? N operations. So every time we are paying $2, so basically we are paying $2n. This $2n are corresponding to 2n operations, and that will be nothing but, sorry, 2n cost. So basically order of n total cost, and if we do this averaging, then each operation will take again order of 1 type. So that's the idea of this accounting method with respect to this binary counter example. Right? So the amortized cost of n operation is order of n, and average cost is order of 1. Consider the last method, which is called potential method, and this is similar to accounting method only. So basically, what we are going to do, we are going to prepaid some amount for other operations which will come in future, and how it is different from accounting method. The prepaid here is not credit, but it's kind of potential energy or potential, we can say, and the potential is associated with the data structure as a whole rather than the specific objects within the data structure. So this is the difference. Let's say I insert 5 elements in my stack, and in accounting method, what will happen, that extra $1 will be associated with each and every object, right, like this. But in the potential method, I am interested in how much change is there with respect to, I can say, number of elements in this data structure. So initially number of elements were 0. Now number of elements are 5. So potential difference is of 5. And this difference is stored as in stack, not in the elements of the stack. So that is the difference between accounting method and this potential method. Right? So here I am talking about, so with respect to stack, I am talking about what is the change in the height of the stack. Right? So that is nothing but my potential or potential energy. Whereas in the accounting method, I was paying extra to each and every element whenever I was applying push operation. So here also I am analyzing the same thing. After 5 push operation, what is the change in the height of the stack? So that is nothing but my potential change, potential energy, so which is nothing but 5. So the way I am saving this prepaid amount is different. So let's consider the data structure. Initial data structure is D naught, and after n operation, it will become, let's say, Dn, and the underlying costs are nothing but C1, C2 up to Cn. So the potential function is from with respect to each data structure, there is one real number associated with it, and this is nothing but potential of Di. This is nothing but symbolic notation for it, right? So amortized cost, how will define amortized cost? So amortized cost is nothing but actual cost plus potential change, right? So after performing ith operation, potential change will be phi of di minus phi of di minus I, because this is was before, this is after. So whatever difference is there, that is nothing but potential change. And actually, actual cost we already know. For example, if we are applying push operation, then we know that actual cost is 1. Right? And then we'll talk about the potential change, right? And with respect to all n operation, we'll perform this thing. So intermediate terms will cancel out, and finally the only thing will remain is nothing but after n operation, we need to identify the difference with respect to potential of dn and d naught only. Right? So again, if potential at dn is greater than or equal to potential of d naught, then total amortized cost is nothing but upper bound of the total actual cost, and this is required, we know, right? But we don't know what is the value of n. So in order to achieve this, we need to make sure that for all the values of I, this is achieved. So therefore we will write like this: for all I going from 1 to n, potential of data structure after I operation is greater than or equal to potential of data structure, a potential of initial data structure, which is nothing but d naught, right? And this is required for all values of I. And then we can identify the change. If potential change is positive, then we'll say that the underlying operation is overcharged, and otherwise we'll say that it's undercharged. And it's very much convenient to define initial state as 0. So it's for example, in the case of stack, it's natural to assume that before performing any push or pop operation, my initial stack is empty. So therefore initial potential of my data structure is nothing but 0. And this is also obvious that potential at any point of time cannot become negative, because we can't at least zero elements will be there in the stack. That's the idea. Right? So now let's talk about this amortized cost and potential change. So what will happen after push operation? So let's say uh, intermediately, let's say S elements are already there in my stack, and now I am applying push operation. So now S plus one element will appear in my stack. So potential difference will be nothing but S plus one minus S, which is nothing but one. And amortized cost, so I know the formula for amortized cost. Actual cost for plus potential difference. So actual cost is 1, potential difference is 1. So amortized cost is 2, right? And with respect to pop, what will happen? I'm removing one element. So uh, after I iteration, elements will be S minus 1. But before this, total number of elements were S. So basically potential is dropping by 1, right? So potential change is minus 1. And if I talk about amortized cost, the amortized cost is nothing but potential change plus actual cost. So actual cost is 1, 1 plus minus 1, which is nothing but 0, right? So for pop, again, amortized cost is 0. Similarly, for multi-pop, amortized cost will be 0, because now there is a, we are removing k elements, so therefore potential change will be minus k, and therefore we can say that and actual cost is k, so k minus k will be 0, right? So that's the idea. So again, like accounting method, the amortized cost is similar, right? We're giving $2 for push and $0 for pop as well as multi-pop. But if we talk about sequence of n operations, then as you can see, after n operation, what will happen? Total amount which we are paying is nothing but 2n, which is nothing but order of n, and amortized cost is again order of 1, right? Which is nothing but average cost. And similarly, we can analyze for binary counter also, right? So with this, we stop here.
Thank you. Subscribe to my channel for more videos.